Our guest today in Omelet is Howard Cosell. And Howard, I followed your career very closely, and I figure you were a pioneer in sports broadcasting. When you were growing up in the East, and when you were starting your career with a network, did you figure it ever at any time that your name was going to be a household word in America?
No, I still can't believe it, really. But it's true, it is. It's something my wife and I think about often because neither one of us understand to this day how a sports commentator can have such a recognition factor.
But in all honesty, your public image is one that modesty is not one of your strong points?
Apparently, that's the public image, and I'm not going to say that I'm a modest man. I don't think people who perform in public life can ever really be modest. I think they have to have a great deal of extroversion and a great deal of self-belief. However, I don't think that I'm the massive egotist that I've been portrayed to be. Nothing of the sort. Like any human being, I have my own insecurities about life that stem from my whole background, the way I grew up and all the rest.
Your style is very distinctive. You brought to sportscasting a new element. You decided that this was not the most important thing in the world, that sports were games, that they're played by grown-up boys, and that the world didn't rise and fall on the outcome of a single football or basketball or boxing encounter.
Well, that's entirely true as far as the contest itself is concerned. I can't attribute any importance really to a given contest. But there are matters in sport that far transcend sport that I take very seriously and that I think the truth must be told about. Because sport is much more than games. It's more than games when a man is deprived of constitutional guarantees. It's more than games when carpetbagging owners defy the public interest and flit from city to city. It's more than games when municipalities are involved in funding great stadia. It's more than games when young Americans can't compete against the Russians because of a couple of bureaucratic administrative bodies. So those things I take very seriously.
It seems to me that you're one of the few interviewers who, despite a rather penetrating method of speaking to your guests, frequently wins him over. I'm thinking about your interviews vis-a-vis Muhammad Ali, one of our friends here from Louisville. For instance, you have never been gentle with him. You've always been direct and honest, but you've never taken the easy way with him, and yet it seems to me that he regards you as rather more than just a passing friend.
Oh, I think we have a mutuality of respect. I think it's grown through the last 10 or 12 years that we've done so many dialogues together. And I regard Ali as one of the most fascinating men I've ever known, certainly the most interesting athlete I've ever known, and I have a very, very great respect for him.
How do you respond to criticism? Recently in the New York Times, they described the three of you, Meredith and you and Frank Gifford, as being like a group of people in a trapped in an elevator.
Oh, I think you're referring to a piece by Cyclops, John Leonard, really.
Right.
If you're in public life, if you're a professional, you have to expect criticism. Nobody likes criticism, especially criticism that one feels is unjust or undeserved. But criticism from sports writers bothered me only once in my life. That was the first year of Monday Night Football. I was deeply sensitive to it and deeply wounded by it. But I won that battle, and now I couldn't care less what the sports writers write. I don't want to overgeneralize about sports writers. Some of them are good, some of them have horizons, some of them have dimension, some of them can see further than the thimble that really encases most of them. Generally speaking, let the sports writers do their thing. They're encased in anonymous mediocrity.
You know, Cyclops had another rather strong statement about you in that New York Times article.
No, he said I scourge.
Yeah, he said...
He's an admirer of mine, as a matter of fact.
He said that you wear your ego like the cowcatcher on the locomotive of your mouth.
Oh, that's There's nothing wrong with saying that. That's a man in love with words, trying to be descriptive and have fun with words. He's been very good to me over the years. I have no complaint with him.
When you get up in the morning and shave, and you look at yourself in the mirror, or you have a moment of introspection in your busy life, what do you think of yourself? What kind of a man do you see yourself as, Howard Cosell?
A decent man, an honest man, as honest as I know how to be. And above all, a contented man because of my sense of values, which are lodged in my home. My wife, who's here with me now, my 2 daughters, my son-in-law, and my 2 grandsons with another grandchild on the way.
You take great pride in your family life.
I sure do. That's where it's all at.
Would Mrs. Cosell share our camera here?
I have no objection,
Mrs.
but she
Cosell?
makes her own decisions.
Would you come into our picture, too? We want the world to know that there's a Mrs. Cosell, too.
Hello, world.
This is the WHS TV world, anyway, and you're on our program, Omelet. I think, do you like to go with Howard to many events?
I do. I enjoy it very much. We have a lot of fun, meet a lot of very nice people. We do more traveling than we'd like to do, I guess. It seems we're in a plane more than out of a plane.
I have a final question for you. Are you hurt? Are you stung at all when someone says or writes something critical of your husband?
I certainly am. I'd have to be less than human, I think.
He's a lovable man?
He surely is.
You are lovable, Howard?
If I'm not, you've got a scoop. Milton, may I give you a word of advice?
Please.
Don't worry about sports writers.
All right. Can I live with that?
You can live with that forever. I'm an expert on this subject.
Thank you very much.
They are monumental in their unimportance.
We'll live by that. Thank you, Howard and Mrs. Cosell.
Thank you.
Milton, Metz on Omelet. We'll be back in just a minute.